That was Always Be My Girl. Can you believe it? And I have with me that very same artist who recorded all the instruments for that, Mr. Charlie Crane, the one and only. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Pablo. How's it going?
I'm good. You seem to be on the set of Lidsville or Baby's Coming Back or...
Yes, this is a background illustrated by Alan Bettino. I just composited some frames from Kai Dansberg's stellar HD upscales of the Baby's Coming Back video to make this Zoom background. And I could post these to the Facebook as part of the fest, as long as that's okay with the rights holders.
Oh, I'm sure it will be. And so, yeah, it's good to know that I'm not just on some kind of acid trip.
Who's to say you're not?
Well, yeah, maybe I need to be after 20 odd interviews, but yeah, all good. So Always Be My Girl. What possessed you to choose such a ridiculously difficult track to not just perform, but to record all of it yourself?
Well, I tend to gravitate towards the obscure side of music a lot of the time, and Always Be My Girl definitely falls into that category. It wasn't released anytime in the band's lifetime. It came out about a decade after Jellyfish broke up as part of the Fan Club box set, although now I think it has a slightly wider release as part of the Belly Button Deluxe, thanks to the fine folks at Omnivore. But yeah, it's a really cool song. Like, I don't know that much about it apart from what it says in the liner notes. It's sort of from the hinterland between the end of Beatnik Beach and the formation of Jellyfish. And I don't know, just imagine being Andy and Roger in 1990 and having a song this good in your back pocket and not even considering it for your debut album. It's like in the liner notes, they do tell, I think Roger tells the story of having to learn it for a live show just because they didn't have enough material to fill up an hour. And they had sort of Chris bouncing around in a little mobile home with blown shocks trying to learn the bass part. So I very much empathized with Chris's plight when learning this song, because it's just like a Swiss watch of an arrangement. Like there are so many cool distinctive pieces to it that work together so well and keep it ticking. Like there's the 2/4 drum shuffle, and there's the hyperactive bass line, and there's, this lovely keyboard counter melody and in the background of the bridges, or that, the crazy country pick and octave solo. There's so much about this song that makes it work. And, they were just spoiled for material, and it just didn't come out at the time.
Yeah, and when you consider how many singles there were released on Belly Button, and not just singles, but different formats with different B-sides, it really is, shocking that it never made it out there. I mean, I didn't, as I've said on previous interviews, I didn't discover Jellyfish until 2007. So the Fan Club box set had been out about 5 years at that point. I'm guessing you got the box set at the time. I mean, how big of a revelation was being able to hear new stuff that you never heard before? Because, I mean, it still is for me now when the occasional new YouTube clip comes up. But I feel like we've seen just about everything. But every time I say that, something new does, pop up.
I mean, yeah, you're right. It's always good to hear more stuff from the same well. And, even though I am I'm 33 years old, but I kind of consider myself a first generation fan because my parents were very much converts to the Jellyfish. Like they saw them open for the Black Crowes and said they blew the Crows off the stage. And Jellyfish was very much a part of my childhood. So to get new songs from that same era was definitely just a thrill.
Yeah, I wish that Jellyfish would have been introduced to me as a kid. I think my musical upbringing would have been far more interesting, and I probably would have pursued music a lot earlier, because it ended up being Jellyfish and their work that made me progress on to become a producer and arranger and all that kind of stuff. But like I say, that really wasn't until 2007, which was actually quite late on. But it was kind of one of the, I guess, Jellyfish rebirths, because the tribute album came out in 2007 as well from Burning Sky Records. McFly took Baby's Coming Back to #1. That was all during that time. So they didn't feel, what's the word? Not out of date, but they never felt like they weren't around, sort of thing, to me.
Yeah.
You know, even between them breaking up and the box set coming out is only, what, 6-7 years, maybe? And that's nothing when you think about it. But so musically, with all the instruments that you play, what are some of your earliest influences, and when did you start playing live?
So, I mean, I can't remember a time that music wasn't a big part of my life. Like, my parents are both avid music fans, and they always had a lot of old music and a lot of new music in the house. And so, like, I was brought up on a pretty steady diet of like 60s pop and 70s classic rock, and, you know, a lot of the, I guess, this progressive pop or the sophistopop of the 70s, you know, Electric Light Orchestra, Queen, and Supertramp, and 10cc, all of which is, you know, such a big part of the Jellyfish sound. But like, I was born in 1987, and it seems around that time there was this sort of explosion of music that took those earlier sounds and centered it in that time period. You know, apart from Jellyfish, there was like XTC, Oranges and Lemons, and the last couple of Robin Hitchcock and the Egyptians records, Crowded House's Woodface, Goodbye Jumbo by World Party, Elvis Costello's Spike. Like, all of these were in high rotation in my house. And of course, the Belly Button and Spilt Milk fit so well in there. And, you know, it just made so much sense to me as a kid. Like, I was a, you know, small child when they came out. So I wasn't intellectualizing music, I guess. Like, so some of the, what I'll call the Steely Dan elements of Jellyfish fandom were not there. Like, I wasn't thinking like, listen to that Fender Rhodes. It's not a sample. That's a real thing. Or, and Albie and Jack could really record a drum set. You know, I was taking in the whole package, like the melodies and the strawberries and the harmonies and the candy necklaces and the gas station trousers and the fruit out of the top hat. You know, it was all very kid friendly to me. And I think part of it was my folks also got a VHS copy of the Gone Jellyfishin'.
You had cool parents, I've got to say.
I really did.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty, that tape, I probably watched it more than any like Disney tape or cartoon that we had. It had everything a kid could want. You know, there were catchy tunes and bright colors, and there was a trip to McDonald's. And it was over in 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's a good metaphor for Jellyfish's lifespan, I think. You know, tons of fun and then over before you know it.
Exactly.
So did you gravitate to a particular instrument first?
I think probably drums, just because that was where that was most immediate to me, that I could just hit something and it could make a sound. And so I think first I started off like playing lunch boxes with pencils until I had made enough dents in the family cutlery that my parents were like, let's get this kid a drum set. And then it just sort of started picking things up. Like, there was a ukulele and I started learning some chords. There's a bass. It just sort of all informed one another. So I was like learning music theory on a piano, which I'm still not very good at. But then sort of transposing it to the ukulele and then to the guitar from there. So yeah, I guess I was maybe 15, 16 when I started playing in bands. And
so how easy was it to find musicians that were into the same type of music that you, because as I've learned, it's almost impossible where I live to find, when I was 20, I kind of, my mindset was, right, to be signed to a label, to be marketed, it's got to be a bunch of 20-year-olds. Now I'm 35. I'm like, I don't care how old you are, as long as you can play an instrument. I certainly don't care what you look like, as long as you like the same type of music and you can play an instrument. Then just welcome aboard. But so how was it trying to find people who were in the similar style of music, or did you feel that you were adapting to what they wanted in a different type of band?
Yeah, I think it was more like I was adapting to what was going on in my high school. So like for a while I was in a metal band playing drums, which I like metal, but I'm not a metal drummer, but I had a drum set. So
see, it was new metal as well, wasn't it? When we were
right
at college, yeah, and at school and stuff like that, yeah.
I did luck out. I did luck out and find some friends in the high school over who were really into rockabilly, and joined on with them as a drummer. And I'm still with them. We're called the Dyes. We play a lot in the Chicago area, and that drum part on "Always Be My Girl," just like the kind of Punk Monkeys 2/4 shuffle. That's something that we definitely lean into a lot in the Dyes repertoire. It's very much a rockabilly type beat.
Yeah, it's kind of that. The arrangement for that song is so. I don't know what the word is. It feels like everything is so close together. Like the band are all playing facing each other in the same room, so you can kind of barely distinguish certain pieces because it's very gluey, I guess, in terms of like the drum beat or what's going on behind it, if there's percussion or the acoustic guitar and stuff like that. So was that a task for you to distill it and find everything that was in there? Because there's no stack of tracks or anything like that for this song,
right? And the fact that it's just a demo is kind of mind blowing to me. Like, I think this wasn't like a home demo. I think they did go to a studio. I think it was a Dancing Dog in Emeryville. I think it said in the.
It seems to be next level up compared to say Worthless Heart and stuff like that. Those kind of demos.
Yeah, but like, it's. I will admit that I used the splitter, the new like AI multi-track extractions, just to sort of hear like what exactly is the note choice in the harmony and the bridge, or like I mentioned Roger's keyboard part, which is maybe the only thing that sets this instrumentally apart from Jellyfish. It's kind of more of an 80s twinkly electric piano than like the more vintage sounds that he preferred on Belly Button and Spelt Milk. But it's just a really lovely like counter melody to it, and it's kind of buried in the mix, and unless you're listening for it, you wouldn't know it's there. But it's just such a cool part.
It is, and it's very simple compared to everything else that is going on. It kind of provides a bed for everything else to be on top of, and it is very nice. So this software that you have, because I mean, I know software can do this, but it was able to do that with Always Be My Girl and distill the parts effectively enough.
Yeah, effectively enough. Wow. It's getting better and better. Like I know that there's a web-based version of it at moises.ai, and it does a really good job of, with minimal artifacts, kind of separating it out into vocals accompaniment.
Everyone's going to want you to post this now.
Oh, yes. I'll definitely put it in the comments.
Okay. Excellent. So with the sort of Jellyfish stuff, because I mean, have you ever seen any of the guys perform live in person? I'm guessing you probably have. You haven't?
I haven't, no.
Not as a competition. I'm not like showing off. But when you came on social media, I mean, I'm guessing you had MySpace and everything as well, because a lot of the band members, including Andy, had a MySpace as well. So were you reaching out to them at the time, or were you kind of they're over there, I'm over here, and we'll see what they do sort of thing? Because that is one thing I must say about the guys generally, is that they are so easy to reach out to, and have been so forthcoming in terms of fan interaction and stuff like that. So did you reach out to maybe work with them or anything like that? Or
so back in 2011, I started a podcast called Stereo Hysteria, and a couple of years into it, I kind of realized that I could just sort of reach out to musicians that I admire and talk to them and interview them. And, musicians like talking about themselves and their music. It's just more free publicity, and I'm willing to ask the questions and do the editing. So yeah, I always had, Jellyfish in mind as sort of like a dream guest. Like I would never, I shouldn't even bother. I shouldn't get my hopes up. But I think it was 2017. I just sort of on a whim contacted Jason Faulkner, and he was so nice. He was like, yeah, let's do it next week. And, I asked for maybe 45 minutes of his time, and he talked to me maybe twice that. And yeah, after I talked to him, I think soon after that, they announced the Licorice Quartet. So I went through those channels, and I got in touch with Roger and had another really good conversation with him. So yeah, I very much appreciate how open they are with the fans, and how much, how accessible they are, and, willing to spill the beans and,
spill the milk, as it were. Yeah. I'm so clever. So musically, what do you have in the pipeline? Is there anything that you're working on, and how has the coronavirus and lockdown and everything affected you as a musician?
So obviously, no live shows means if I'm making music, it's probably in the basement. So the same basement that you see in the video. So over the last year or so, my partner Julie and I have been recording a lot of her songs. Julie Juergens is just a stellar songwriter. And so we've been just going down to the basement and tackling a couple songs every week. And now we're just sort of farming them out to other musicians who we'd like to add any instrumentation to those. So yeah, we were hoping to have an album out, and then it kind of turned into 2 albums, and then maybe into 3 albums. So we don't know when to stop, but definitely look for those coming up. And I'm in some other bands.
We all thought it would be over by December. We thought we'd be back out gigging by now. So, yeah, we've all had a lot of time to write and record. But yeah, sorry,
yes,
go for it.
I love being a studio rat. So just for me, the more time I get to, like maybe this song needs a tambourine too, or no, maybe it's a shaker, or no, maybe it's a can of lima beans, just trying out different percussions is, that's my sweet spot.
And I love what you did with Always Be My Girl as well, because it has your stamp on it, but you don't venture, because I guess it's a hard song to really venture away from, because it's such an intricate arrangement sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that I'm guessing that was always the plan, to remain faithful, I guess, because the level of musicianship on all of this has been incredible, I've got to say, but there has been a lot of wanting to stay true to the original song, which is great, because it just shows how much everyone loves Jellyfish. So that was
I suppose if I had more time, I could have slowed it down and done sort of like a crooner version of it, but it's
do a rave version of it, just
Yes.
Yeah. I think that would go down.
No, it's just such a cool arrangement. It was so fun to sort of take it apart and put it back together, and just sort of learn what makes it tick and how they would put things together.
Yeah, I totally agree. That was, in my relatively limited skills as a producer, that was what turned me on to being fascinated about producing, wanting to know how they can have a huge, lush arrangement and have it all be heard and have it all be effective. And have you heard the Mayflowers version of Always Be My Girl?
Oh, was that on the Sensory Lullabies?
That's on Sensory Lullabies, yeah.
Yeah. I think they did a really good job.
They did, yeah. Very, would it be J-pop?
Yeah.
It would be very
I think
J-pop.
so.
Yeah, very punky and, very interesting as well. So
I think I listened to it just once, though, because I didn't want to be too influenced by another version, because I didn't want to copy a copy of a copy,
Oh, and mate, any Jellyfish song is a mission to take on board. And, I would say that the joining a Fanpage page, which, as I keep saying, celebrating its 10th year, and we're up to 4,400 members, which is wonderful. Very discerning audience, but I think if you pass that test, I think you've done well, sort of thing. Because I've seen things not pass the test on that page. But I think everyone who I've told, that you're doing Always Be My Girl, had been like, wow, including Roger. Like, he's very excited to hear it as well. So besides your ladies' albums which are coming out, what else do you have coming out soon? And your podcast as well, please plug away.
Oh, okay. I'm in a band called Liz and the Baguettes. We've got a couple albums on Spotify, and we're working on a new one. There's The Dyes. We're still gigging around the Chicagoland. Trying to think what else there. Yes, there's the podcast Stereo Hysteria, which is available on all your favorite podcatchers. I'm trying to think if there's anything else imminent to be released. That's a
lot. That's a fair bit, to be fair. Yeah,
I've been contractually obligated to say I am not Charlie O'Brien from The Unswept, but I am good friends with Charlie O'Brien from The Unswept, and I hear that they have new stuff in the pipeline as well.
There you go.
But you didn't hear it here.
Well, Charlie, I want to thank you for being a part of Jellyfest, taking on again because don't get me wrong, it's wonderful that most of the album tracks have been taken, but it just adds that little extra spice when something a little off the beaten track is taken, and especially such a pig of a song to put together, and
definitely, and sort of like a departure in a way. Like, I think that lyrically, it's, I think Andy's lyrics tend to be a little bit, not dour, but like kind of edgy or caustic. Mm-hmm. Like even a song is like cheerful and upbeat sounding as Baby's Coming Back there. There's still the alcoholism and the handgun, but like Always Be My Girl. It's to quote the other Andy, it's stupidly happy. It's just, it captures that, can't stop smiling ebullience about new romance. So I was just happy to put a little bit of sunshine in the world.
Absolutely. And Andy in the fan club book, he never really compliments his own lyrics. Roger does throughout the book, but Andy he picks out the line "caught between the fences of your hips and my own senses" as one of his favorite lines, which is just genius. It really is. And yeah, I can see why you would want to tackle such a song. So yeah, I want to thank you again, and I want everyone to stay tuned to Jellyfest for what is coming up next.